Hey, Calvary family. This is Pastor Jeff, and speaking to you on behalf of the elders, John and Brian. Sorry, we probably should have come earlier, but we are really trying to be wise and love you and serve you and lead you well. And so I just have 4 or 5 things that I want to try to communicate to you by way of this video. We are weighing heavily the government's response. I mentioned that this past Lord's Day, and I would encourage you to listen to that lesson if you haven't already. There's a link in this email that you could follow to do so. I think that would help you understand my heart and our perspective as we approach this. And so I guess the first thing to tell you is that we are going to, kind of in keeping with Romans 13, to try to abide by the standards set out for us by our president and by our governor and by the CDC. And my understanding of that right now is no gatherings over 10 people for the next couple of weeks, no gatherings over 50 people for the next 8 weeks. I certainly hope that those will change, but that is our mindset right now. And with that in mind, we have some things that we want you to know as we kind of pivot and try to minister in this season. Number one, we will try to observe normal office hours, which for us are Tuesday to Friday, 8:30 to 4 o'clock. And we want to encourage you to take advantage of that, to phone us, to email us, to come in if you're healthy and if you're not at high risk. And we would delight in the opportunity to pray with you or to encourage you, to minister to you in any way that's possible. Number two, we are going to try to communicate to you daily via our Facebook page. That's our Facebook page, not our Facebook group. The Facebook page is public, and either Brian or John or I will be on there every day posting in some fashion to try to give you information if you need it. I don't know that we'll have a lot of that, but mainly to just try to minister, to encourage you, to get you to think, to provide devotionals. And so that will be on our Facebook page. Calvary Plainfield is that page. Number three, I am going to prepare a Bible study every week, and I'm going to keep going through the Gospel of Luke. And we will post that no later than Sunday morning. It may be earlier, but it will be no later than Sunday morning as an uploaded video. We're not going to live stream. That's a deliberate decision rooted not just in logistics, but in some convictions and as to how we're thinking. I'm afraid it would be dangerous for us to try to think in terms that this is business as usual. To say something like, we're meeting as normal, just not in the auditorium, we're meeting online. We want you to understand that this is a substitute, and we hope it's a help, obviously, but it is at best a poor substitute for what God has ordained, which is that the church actually gathers. That's what the word church means. It's a gathering, it's a congregation. And so at no time is the church more the church than when it's actually together face to face in relationship and in covenant. And we don't want, I think, especially in kind of the climate of the culture we find ourselves, to kind of buy into this mindset that online is the church of the future. It's not biblical, and we don't want to even hint in that direction. So we're not trying to reproduce a normal Sunday service. It won't be limited to a live stream at a certain time, although we want it available to you at 10 a.m. if you want to maintain that spiritual discipline, and to use the Bible study. And then we'll try to provide you with resources, maybe a playlist or some suggestions for prayers or other things that you can use in leading worship live wherever you are, in your home or with your family, etc. But we will do that, Lord willing, every week. That will be a goal, to have that available on our website. And so you can look there for that. Number four, we want to encourage you to exhort each other daily, not just to rely on your elders or on what's happening here at the church, but to take seriously the command of Hebrews and to exhort each other daily. And this is where social media can actually be a blessing and a help. technology, to phone, to email. Again, encourage you to take seriously the limit of 10 people for a gathering for the next couple of weeks. But there are technological options. Jordan used Zoom last night for youth group, and if any of you want to pursue that, then I would encourage that. Not mandate it, but it may be an option, and you could contact Jordan to get some help on that. But even just individuals or families connecting and encouraging each other and blessing each other. Social media can be a great bane in times like these, and you've no doubt seen those, and I would encourage you to use great caution and care and to represent the church and more importantly to represent the cause of Christ well, and not to fall into griping, do all things without grumbling and complaining, not to fall into panic or despair, but to use it for the sake of ministry, and I think that's a great option and a great opportunity for us right now. Finally, we want to be sensitive to financial needs in particular in our church family. It may be that there are jobs affected by this pandemic that will limit or even eliminate the incomes for some of our families. If that's you, please let us know. We want to help. If that's somebody you know in the church, but they may hesitate to ask for help, please let us know about that. And even outside our church walls, our first priority, our first biblical obligation is to care for our own church family. But we may have opportunities, and it probably won't come in the form of people just calling randomly, but if you have a connection, somebody that's not in our church but that has needs, it may be an opportunity for the church to show the glorious grace of God and His gospel. And we can be generous with them through you. And so let us know about that as well. I've already had people in the church that have told me if there are benevolence needs, I want to help. And so we praise the Lord for that. This also brings up another kind of, dirty little issue that I need to address, which is our church still has a responsibility to support our missions family. And even though we're not meeting, I would encourage you to consider however you give to support the needs of this church, to continue that. We do not have an online option for that right now. We're thinking about it, we're looking at it. But either mail, or perhaps your bank has an online bill pay, or just drop it off at the office during normal office hours. We encourage you to continue to, in worship, even though we're not in a congregational worship setting, but in worship and in gratitude and in faithfulness to support the church as God prospers you. Encourage you to think about that. A couple things just maybe devotionally that I hope will be an encouragement to you. 2 weeks ago now, a week and a half ago now, when I last preached in Luke's Gospel, we saw how Jesus rebuked a fever. And I kind of talked about that a long time because that reality jumped out and grabbed me. I think it's really important to remember that God is sovereign over fevers and coronaviruses and pandemics, and to rest our hope in Him. This week we're going to look how God is Lord over fish. So whether it's fevers or fish, let's lift high in our thinking the power and the grace of our God as we respond in our hearts and even in our words and actions to this God. My prayer for our church is found in Philippians chapter 1 and verses 9 through 11. Paul there says, "It is my prayer that your love may abound more and more with knowledge and all discernment, so that you may approve what is excellent, and so be pure and blameless for the day of Christ, filled with the fruits of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ, to the glory and praise of God." Folks, let me encourage you, let's be loving, let's love our neighbors, let's love our brothers and sisters, and let's do that with all the knowledge and discernment we can so that we're responding in ways that are not just good, not just better, but that are best, they're excellent, they're surpassing other ways of responding in this time. There's ministry opportunities, there are certainly prayer opportunities, and so I want to encourage you to think about Philippians 1 and verses 9 through 11, and encourage you to do so. Lord bless you, and we'll talk to you again soon.